sound in the back of the room? Okay. Good, I got it. So for those who either haven't come in the past or haven't seen me before, my name is Sarah Woodward. I work with the Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunities Mobile Home Program. We have folks here from the Cooperative Development Institute who will be leading us through our agenda, which will be circulating around. I've also started to pass around the sign-in sheet. If you can, write your name and contact information. That'll be really useful for ongoing communication as we start to organize and put your board of directors and leadership process into effect. So please do sign in. So the update I wanted to give you was about the petition. So last time we met, we distributed a petition. A number of volunteers went around and went door to door and informed other neighbors who might not have been able to come to meetings in the past to get them to sign on board to pursue this action. So that was mailed to the Department of Housing. That was mailed to Rob Farrington. And had 85 signatures on it, which was well above the majority that was required. So going forward, that secured an additional 120 days to look into how to make a cooperative work and how to organize that. I believe that puts us to May 18th is where the 120 days would go to. So those are updates. I guess I wanted to open it up for questions before we get into the agenda, starting with member agreements. Yes, Tom?
Is there anything that needs to be done to meet the January 22nd deadline? So that you sent it to the state, but is that by sending it to the state, do they need to approve it, or is there anything that any other step that needs to happen?
So the question was, as far as the January 22nd deadline goes, is there anything else that we need to do to meet that obligation? So at this point, there's nothing else that needs to be done. It's been submitted to the department, as I said, with 85 signatures. With the cross-check that I did and Arthur Hamlin did at the state, I think 82 were determined to be valid signatures that matched the homeowners on the roster. And I haven't heard anything otherwise from Mr. Farrington. So at this point, I mean, the petition's been accepted as it's been submitted. Any other questions before we get into member agreements? Yeah.
Are we agreeing tonight to go co-op definitely? Or has that already been decided?
Well, the last meeting that we held, yes, we did a hand poll for which route to go. I think the petition that was sent out got us going on this route, and so ultimately today, the first item that we'll be talking about member agreements. That will get us to, if a majority are looking to enroll, that will be our indicator as to whether there's enough interest. But I think the petition has shown that there's plenty of interest in the option. Yes?
Yeah, maybe minor, but we will be able to name this co-op and something other than Farrington a name of our choice.
Correct, and that's in fact in order to create your corporation and who you're going to become a member or pledge your membership to. That's one of the first steps, is figuring out what are you going to call the name of your corporation. So yes, that's one factor. And I know I don't know if it was an official poll or semi-unofficial poll through Facebook or other social media where folks had been coming up with a list of potential name options. So I think we can probably get into that discussion as well, and that is something that needs to be selected.
What's it called on Facebook? I didn't know we were on Facebook.
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to add to your question. You're choosing to go forward as a co-op in that you were exploring your options. It doesn't mean like you sign a piece of paper and you have to purchase signing your soul away right now. Like, this is absolutely what you have to do. This is just to go and look. If you decide, like, doesn't look like a good idea to buy the park, you don't have to. You guys as a community don't have to.
Well, we just wanna save our homes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the end goal
Right.
for everyone. But I'm just saying that you're not signing into a contract to do a final thing. That's something you decide over the next 120 days.
But won't the assessment of the park take care of some of that also? Because you'll have to come in with the engineers and stuff and do the surveying, and then that'll determine how much and
That's
that
exactly
stuff.
it, yeah.
So,
The names on Facebook, I wrote them down. These are potential. Ethan Allen Mobile Home Co-op, Farrington Mobile Home Co-op, North Avenue Mobile Home Co-op. Those are just suggestions, not mine. I got them off of Facebook. Take a vote on one on those three. Anybody else?
I vote for hope. I vote that we go back to the agenda.
Well, at some point, when you get to articles of association, you have to have a name to
Yeah.
associate. So,
We need a name before we go any
if
town.
you want, we can visit that. It doesn't matter. I'll take over. Anyone to speak here? You lose your man?
Yeah, do we lose the mayor? He's standing right beside us.
Okay.
I'd like to say a few words before we get into our full agenda. Thank you.
I can use that mic. Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I hope they all went well. Hope you had a great New Year. Wanted to be with you again tonight for part of the meeting. I don't think I can stay the whole time tonight, but I did just want to be here to send the message. The city continues to pay close attention to what's happening here. We care a great deal about what the outcome is here. I see the city's main role is to support you in whatever direction you choose to go. I think it's a tremendously positive thing that you've achieved such consensus about that direction. I see city councilors, heirs, and right here tonight, and think about how difficult it is for the 15 of us down on city council meetings to agree about just about anything. To have over 80% of the homeowners here agreeing have such consensus on these important, complicated decisions seems like a great start. Todd Rawlings, I want to make sure again I point him out here, is our point person from the city in continuing to play that kind of support role from the city's perspective. Unfortunately, Brian Pine is moving on, but I see he's got it in his blood, and he can't stay away, even though I think he's officially off the it's officially off the payroll, but still is here anyway. That's generous, you, Brian. City, I feel lucky as mayor that we have such great partners to help with this difficult process in CBOEO and ROC, and I feel really good about the way that this direction is going. I hope you do as well. I do just want to repeat the invitation finally, and then I'll let you get on with the important business. If you ever feel like would like to talk to me about where this is headed or about anything else, again, every Wednesday morning, 8 to 9, just about every Wednesday morning, I'm sitting there in the bagel shop and happy to talk about Farrington's issues or anything else. And I hope you'll come across the street and chat if you ever have a need. So, with that, does anyone have any questions for me? As the city or? Hi.
Can you speak to the public meeting coming up on the 13th and the zoning amendment?
Okay. My understanding is there is no zoning amendments being proposed for, there were years ago zoning amendments that were considered and they were rejected. I think Brian's more a student of this than me, but there is no active consideration of any zoning amendments underway at this point. As far as the public meeting on the 13th, I will need help to give a good answer to that. I don't know if Sarah or Todd or Brian, you can speak to that.
I believe she's referring to the planning commission,
Okay.
and they're discussing
Zoning amendments.
zoning amendments that are not specific to any property per se.
these are the things they're looking at,
They're cleaning
conditional
up.
use approvals
Yeah,
and
exactly.
whatnot. Okay, right, there's a much, broader issue, which, what's driving that is not anything going on, on here, but, if you wanna,
I just want to
yeah,
assure
I
folks.
appreciate that you're,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I just want to assure folks, there's no proposed change for this property. There are changes to the process to get approval at various levels for other things in the city, but it's not specifically changing anything.
But I appreciate you asking the question, because I know there's been some email traffic and confusion out there about this, particularly as it relates to the Burlington College land, and,
Whenever Attorney Assembly
Yeah.
is putting all this stuff on Facebook about the change, in the property being changed from the residential medium density to high density, and they're talking about property taxes skyrocketing.
that is misinformation with respect to Farrington's lot. There's no upzoning like that being proposed or discussed anywhere in the city that either Brian or I are aware of. And I think if it was being discussed anywhere, we would be aware of it.
Another question.
Yeah.
Back in May, some of us from Farrington met with some counselors and different people from different groups about having abandoned property removed from the park.
Yeah.
And at that time, we had one property that was approved that the taxes would be waived and it could be removed, and then they could see, one at a time how it goes. That still has not been approved officially. It hasn't been signed off by a judge. We have property in the park that's gonna cost a lot of money to get rid of, and I'm wondering if you can offer us any suggestions and.
Yeah, great question. I know this has been a long-standing issue and difficult one. I know Brian has worked on that a great deal as well. Can you speak to that quickly? I don't want to derail.
I think Carrie hit it right on when she said it still hasn't been finalized by a judge. That's the problem, is the state law is very clear that it has to go through the court to get judge approval on each time you do it, so that's the case.
And I had asked to be told, I had tried to find out what court it's in, so that I could petition the judge personally, and we could get people to call to get it on the docket, and I never got that information. So if you could find out, I'd really appreciate it. Somebody needs, if I took that long to do my job, I would have been fired years ago.
It can be very frustrating. How long that takes through the judicial process. Yeah. I'll take one. Well, I'll keep going. It seems like this is helpful. So go ahead.
Just a quick question. In some of those proposed changes, they would initially be changing things to what's considered PUD, planned unit development. So with that being said, if that were to happen, that could potentially affect us in the way that the land could be used and developed, correct?
I think these are good questions, and I think it would take some. I can assure you that what is there is not being driven by anything in relation to this parcel. That said, could there be some implication of it? Could there be some impact? And I think that's something that we probably need to sit down with the Planning and Zoning Office and look carefully at to give you an accurate answer. And I think it's a really fair question. And why don't we do that, Todd? Can we follow up quickly, since that hearing is coming up? Get with David White, the planning director, and understand what, if any, implication that the two amendments being considered could have here. I'll follow up on that.
Because what that basically means is right now it's residential. If it were to go to PUD, they could do mixed use, which means they could put multiple things in there other than housing, which would be typical of, let's say, Maple Tree Place out in Williston, correct?
I don't want to misspeak, and I'm not.
I don't
fully
wanna
clear
either,
up to
but I
speed
just
on
wanna
this.
clarify.
I would be very surprised if what's being considered there would have that kind of impact on the parcel. But I'm glad you're raising it. I'm glad you've asked it, and we will double check and make sure there's clarity.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just in follow-up, I have good reason to be worried, because my understanding is the ordinance that was written that said if a housing property is removed, something else has to be put in its place, was never intended to be applied to the mobile home park, but it's being applied to the
Great
mobile
point.
home park.
There's all
And
sorts of
that needs to be amended as well.
there are all sorts of unintended consequences of regulations that happen all the
Right,
time.
and
So
that's
you're
what we
absolutely
want
right
to keep an eye
to be
on.
asking questions about it, and appreciate it.
And we're working on changing that. I mean, we've been talking with Brian Pine about that, and we're gonna have some language to hopefully correct that situation, because that has been an issue.
And unfortunately, because of that ordinance, we've been stuck with the decapitated homes within that park, which has made it difficult. Because it is affordable housing, it's the most affordable housing you're gonna get. The biggest thing is to open up those lots and allow people to be able to put units back in there and have good paying customers. As those sit, it's not a desirable place like that. And because of that ordinance, it's made it, it's like a stone wall.
Yeah.
We gotta break down that wall, we gotta be able to
We gotta
remove
do
those.
something about this. It's frustrating to me
Thank
as well that it has lasted on like this. I know it's complicated and you got a few different forces coming together. But we should be able to break through this somehow.
I've already requested the city attorney to draft the language, so it's in the process right now.
Okay. Thanks for that. Is that another
Just
question?
concurring.
All right. All right. Well, this is great. Sounds like you guys might have more questions for me on Wednesday morning. I hope we'll keep it going. I don't want to derail the important agenda that you got, but we will follow up on that matter and keep them coming. Let's there's no reason for there to be rumors and misunderstandings. That's another role the city can provide is to avoid that. So we'll work. Tom and I will work to do that.
I'm going to try and use this. I'm not the accomplished politician, so I can't speak over everybody. For those folks that haven't met me before, my name is Andy Danforth, and I'm the director of the New England Resident-Owned Communities Program for the Cooperative Development Institute. So I started this project 5 years ago, and in the last 5 years we've converted 17 communities and invested over $55 million into New England manufactured housing parks. We're here to help you if you want to buy your community. We're also, right now, here to help you to start the first step. In order to even go forward and to negotiate and to get engineers and do reviews and start this whole process, we first have to form a corporation. That is our real goal tonight, is to form a Vermont Cooperative Housing Corporation made up of the residents, you folks here, and you've been besieged with documents. We even have more for you. But we're here tonight to basically go through that very simple process. Not very simple process. Everything we do tonight, we have a set of articles that we filed with the state. They basically establish it. We set up bylaws. We start with simple bylaws. They're not etched in stone. You have the right to change them. Okay, the bylaws say how you are governed, that you have a board of directors, who can be a member. Okay, that's what the bylaws say. We then need members. So we have membership agreements. They join. They basically say, I join. I pledge $100 or whatever amount you want to come up with. Minimum's 100, so we'll get to that in a minute. And then we need an interim board of directors, and we need to set a date to have a real set of elections. But when we file this with the state, we can start to talk to the owner, have those negotiations. We need a board of volunteers, 5, 7, 9 people that are basically going to be a committee to help through this process. In the end, we'll have several more meetings like this over the next several months, but in the end, we're going to know what it's going to cost for you to own your community on a monthly basis, what rent you pay, what has to be done to your community over the next 10 years, and we're going to set a plan up, and you're going to vote on it. And most of the time, because it either makes sense or it doesn't make sense, most of the time people vote for the plan, but we've had communities that have not bought their communities after going through this for months. That's the process. But tonight, we need to form that corporation. That's the only legal way that we can go forward. So let's talk about, it's kind of sideways here, but I didn't fix it when you sent it out. Let's talk about the membership agreements. I think you guys got those, right? What this says, and usually first off, we have to set a share price, a membership fee, so to speak. And by our charter, so to speak, that can only be between $100 and $1,000. Okay, and of the 17 groups that we converted, I think all but one have chosen $100. Okay? The reason, it's not meant to raise a lot of money, the reason is you're paying for something. You're buying a membership. You're buying your one share that each house can buy. And therefore it has to have a price. So we don't make it anything too big. It can't be anything too big because we want everybody to be a member. If you don't join today, or you don't join next week, you can join next month, you can join 10 years from now. In the meantime, you don't have a vote if you don't join. So this agreement, we already filled out for $100. Does anybody have any objection to having the minimum membership fee being $100? Okay, that's good. So I'll take that as consensus. We ask that people pay $5 at this point. Okay, when they put in their membership fee. It's refunded if, it's refunded if you don't close. It's refunded if you want your money back at any time. Under Vermont state law, you have 14 days to rescind this, but you can rescind it anytime and get your $5 back. It's just meant that you pay something for something. So that's a deposit. The rest of the $100 wouldn't be due until after you actually purchase the community. And then it can be made in $5 or $10 a month installments or paid at once. So the total membership cost is $100 one time. You pay $5 to get your membership up front. You pay the $95 at a later date. And at least $5 a month after closing. When you leave the cooperative, when you sell your home to the next person that buys it, or you move your home, you get your $100 back. And the next person pays $100. Okay? That's how it works. It's not meant to make any money. It's really meant to establish that you paid $100 for that right. Does anybody have any questions about that?
You can pay more than the $5, right?
Yeah, you pay more than the $5. We have receipts here. People can write checks or cash. It's not a not a big deal. But yeah, you could pay the whole thing up front. I'd rather take you $5 because that way I don't have to worry about anybody saying we ran away with $5. You know what I mean? I'm just joking. But this woman here, and then
I don't have any money on me tonight.
you can fill it out, and what we have to do is establish a system for people to go and see everybody else that's not here. Okay, so tonight, there's no big deadline. Okay? Wait a sec, that gentleman, and then, yes, sir.
What do you make out the check for?
Well, at this point, we don't have a name, do we? And people said that, if you want to write it out to CDI, which is the nonprofit I work for, we'll take the $5 and, that's fine too. Okay, so it's CDI. Yes, ma'am.
If we don't have the $5 tonight, we're gonna have it say Friday when we get our paycheck, where do we take that $5?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to establish we're going to have some volunteers here that are the original board, okay, until we have an election. I'm hoping that those are good volunteers that step forward and want to bang on some doors too, and those people, can make themselves available to you, and we can, they'll tell you where they live, and you can drop it off with them or at the next meeting. Okay? Anything else on that? Okay? So that's, the blank cooperative. Okay? So at the end, we can talk about actually collecting those. Talk about the interim bylaws.
Do we have copies of this stuff if anybody needs anything?
Yeah, I know some of the stuff went out to you in the mail. And this is a very simple set, 4 pages of things that say, what the purpose is, how you become a member, how people vote, or what they vote on. And ultimately, the biggest vote you're going to have is whether you buy the community or not, right now. It talks about annual meetings, special meeting, officers, voting rules. This is meant to last you only through this process. We have a nice 22-page one that we utilize when you own a community, because there's a lot more complex issues about owning a community than buying it. Does anybody have any questions about the bylaws? Do people read them?
Yeah.
Great.
Did you get one?
Great.
I didn't get one,
Okay.
Same here.
you want to run, anybody want one?
How many of us are 1/3? What's that figure?
How many of you, well, it depends how many of you sign up.
Oh, okay,
Okay, right now, 1/3 is 0.
okay.
But,
1/3 of 8.
yeah, you know, we try to set that so that we can get people in, but, you know, if we set it for more than a half, it becomes difficult at times.
So about 27 now.
Yeah, it would be 27, yeah, out of the 85, but, okay, the one thing about this is, to open up something, is that as written, it says that to be a member, you have to be a homeowner that lives in the community. Okay, I want to be clear about that. Does anybody have any issue with that? We have homeowners that do not live in the community as well. And the way this is written, they wouldn't be able to be a member. So,
Confused with that.
what's that?
A little confused with that. Say that again?
It is written, all homeowners residing in the community who are 18 years of old are eligible to be members of the corporation. Okay? So if you live there, you own a home, you can be a member. There are people that own homes that are not there. Do you want them to be allowed to be members?
Yeah, we gotta.
Only,
If we're
you know,
landlords, obviously we don't live there.
that's what I'm asking. That's why I'm asking for a consensus, because we can do that in the initial bylaws and going forward, you know, why we do this is for owner occupancy. So in the future, somebody would not be able to come in and buy homes and rent them. Okay? Just so you know that. Okay, that is part of our model. Okay?
Well, you're saying we would be grandfathered.
But your grandfather did. But I'm asking all of the people here if they have any problem with an owner who owns, right now, a home in the community who does not live in it, can they be members? Does anybody have a problem with that? Yep.
I have a problem with that. I think it should only be people living in the park who own their homes.
Okay.
It should be members. That's what he's, that are occupied, yes, owner occupied.
Okay, yes ma'am?
Yes, that's not fair to the renters that live there now.
Well, well, yeah, we don't deal with the renters that are there now, so to speak. I mean, they have a legal right to be there, they're there. Okay, we don't make people chain. I'm just saying, can the owners have a right? In most of my communities have grandfathered the landlords that are there now.
Okay,
So
so
they-
if I don't join the co-op,
Right.
am I allowed to live in my
Yeah.
home, stay there?
Yes.
Or?
Yes.
You just don't vote.
Yeah.
I don't vote, I don't get anything done if I need something done.
If you don't join the co-op, you're a tenant of the co-op, and you have rights as a tenant under the law. You have the rights to water and all of those type of things. You have rights, but you don't have a right. You don't have a right to be in to vote, to share in the surplus, to plan in your community. You're a tenant, but you can stay there forever. We don't kick anybody out. But please.
Now, what about proxy?
What about a proxy? You guys are proxies in Milton?
We have a few, I don't know if we have any left now, I'd have to think back in my
Yeah.
head, but.
I think the way this is written, there is no proxy. Okay, is that correct? You probably know better than I, but I don't believe so. But a proxy is when you give someone else the right to vote for you. It's not always a good thing, because then you've given your right to vote for somebody and what have you. But I'm going to circle back and take hand. And what I was saying was, there are two ways we can go on the membership. We can say, landlords right now, some of which have been at all these meetings, right? Cannot join the cooperative or can join the co-op. Okay, and again, most of my communities, they let the landlords, because they have an interest in, at least the initial landlords, they have an interest in the community because they have an investment there. But I'd just like a show of hands, how many people do not want the landlords to have membership in the co-op?
If you could, landlords who are not living in.
That is, well, wouldn't be living in your own home if you're a landlord.
Well, you could.
Well,
Several with others.
Yeah.
Still rent others.
okay, can I have those hands again? Okay. So you guess that's a minority? Without,
Ask the other way, yeah.
what's that?
Ask the other way.
I can ask the other way. All the people that wish that the landlords would have the ability to be a member and they would have one vote, you know, please raise your hand.
Now ask how many of those people are landlords.
Okay, how many people are those landlords? Okay. How do you, well, here,
I guess my question is, if someone else is living in the park now and they're not a homeowner in the park, are they allowed to vote?
that is exactly what I'm asking. And I don't know whether, Sarah, how did you feel the consensus was?
I couldn't.
You can't tell? Okay.
It looked like.
Yeah, that's the way I thought it was. However, you can change these, remember, this is for now. There'll be another set of bylaws when you buy the community. You wanna change it later, that's fine. But.
How do you change it?
Huh?
How do you change it?
You have a vote like this. So, yes, ma'am.
As far as I know, there are only 17 renters in the whole 100 and whatever
Right.
trailers that are there. Mr. Rooney has 12. I have one. I have a husband and wife and a child in mind. I have been with Section 8, and the trailer has air conditioning. It's one of the best trailers there. It was my daughter's trailer. It was moved in the park brand new, and I've had no problems with them, and I'm an excellent landlord. And I don't see the problem why, and I also am a director on an association in South Burlington, and we just changed all our bylaws, and we changed them so that we wanted owner occupied only, but we allowed the people that were there able to rent to until they sold, and then once it was sold, then they could not rent.
That would be the
But that's-
basic rule here.
Yeah,
Is that when you sell your property,
Right.
we will
Right.
fully expect you to sell it to someone that's gonna live there. And
Right.
You won't approve
Owner
anybody, or this group will not approve somebody that
But-
is not gonna live there.
I just, for 4 years now, I've rented it, and I've had no problems, and I know that Rob has no problems with my people that are in there.
I'm gonna make that one change. Other than that, no. Yes.
Did you have a question?
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? I wanted to bring it down because it's not clear. Yes.
I'm not quite clear on this. If we have a rental and the person leaves,
Yep.
and then we have another prospective rental, we rent, we're a housing provider, so low-income people are usually all on Section 8. If they meet the requirements of a homeowner, check out, criminal background check, credit, everything else.
Yep.
We would like to be able to re-rent that mobile home to a qualified individual that was approved
Generally,
by the
because you have investment property, we can't make you sell it. Okay? So you can continue, the general, just as you can continue to rent that property, okay? However, every person that comes in the community has to be approved would have to be approved by the cooperative, which
That's
means
what
a
we
background
want.
check and everything like
We
that.
don't want any bums.
No, well, nobody wants any bums.
And once you're co-op, I guess the kind of idea is, just to give an example, so say you're a co-op and he wants to put a home in the community and have someone rent it. He can't do that unless you can prove a hardship. So the idea is, like, you're grandfathered in, but new people can't come and rent, because you want it to be, you know, all.
Right, I can't buy one and say, that's investment property. Okay, that's done. Okay. But your grandfather, you're there, your tenants are there. We're not here to put anybody in the street. We're not here to change your investment. But, you know, everybody coming in has to be owner occupied. Yes, ma'am?
If current renters, landlords, people who rent,
Right.
are grandfathered, does that mean they'll be allowed to buy
No,
more property?
no.
as renters?
No, only the existing ones.
I want to clarify the term
grandfathered is particular to the unit.
Grandfathering is only for the units they currently own.
Right, as long as that person owns them, as long as these fine people own
And
them.
if they sell, they have to sell it to someone who's going to be an owner occupying the
That is
property.
correct,
Okay.
okay? Because that's only fair. Again, with time being what it is, are there any other issues on these bylaws that anybody had when they read them? Yes, sir.
Question, if we go co-op,
Yep.
and with these people renting trailers, in the past we've had problem with some renters. In the bylaws, can we have it written that the renters are on a month-to-month basis, so it'd be easier to get them removed and get someone else in?
We can't interfere with.
I think that would be I don't know that answer. I know that anybody has a lease now, you can't change a lease that exists. Okay?
How it generally works when there are renters, at least dealing with property management, they're the ones collecting, rent, is if it's the renter, and I think in the 22-page version of the bylaws, it states that rent is not paid by the renter to the co-op, but paid by the owner of the unit to the co-op. So basically, the co-op doesn't deal with any financial stuff with the renter. That being said, if the renter is, if they're causing some issue, if they're breaking some community rules or stuff like that, you then can tell the owner of the home, like, you're gonna be evicted because your tenant is doing this thing.
But it's a process.
It is.
It's a long process.
Yes.
Just because somebody's not paying rent 1 month, you can't kick them out in 31 days.
We've
Doesn't
had
happen
people
that
that just didn't want to abide by any of the rules, regulations, and it took forever to get them out. I think if they know in advance that they would have a 30-day notice.
Well, even with a lease, you can evict somebody for for breaking the rules. So I don't know if we can mandate what sort of tenancy there is, but I know that all leases contain it, and if they break the rules of the park, you can evict them for that. It's not easy no matter what. That's kind of the issue too. But what's that? Yeah, state laws do cover that. So, as those ladies will know, it's really only through constant pressure that we basically get people to go by the rules. Yes, sir.
There are state laws regarding mobile home parks denying the right to sublet. The state law says that it's illegal to deny an owner the right to sublet. And that's what renting is. So I don't know how you can, is this not a mobile
Well,
home
when you join the cooperative, you're agreeing to the rules of the cooperative. Okay? You are not, you are an owner. I'm not gonna, one of the things I'm not, on my list of things, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a few other things. So I don't wanna get into it too far, but that's been our rule, is that we don't, as a cooperative, you have the ability to within the co-op, to make those rules.
And there is a clause in the bylaws that says if there you can prove hardship, it's allowed. It's not necessarily like if, I can't think of any examples where we've had it. I don't know if you guys had that,
Somebody has
but
to go to the hospital or something for long term
Yeah.
and want to rent, something like that. That would be hard.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it goes like you elect the board deals with that sort of stuff, and so if it's like an absolute need, like there are ways to
No, I'm
make
just
it work.
bringing it up because I just wasn't sure if you guys were aware of this.
I personally haven't seen it.
Well, in the future, you can.
I'll look into that.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
I think the difference between a co-op and the state rule is because in a co-op model, correct me if I'm wrong, it's community owned and operated. It's not intended to make profit, correct?
That's true.
That is where the difference comes in. That is, but if you're currently renting, then you'd be grandfathered in and be permitted to do so. But in the future, if you were to come into the park as a co-op, you would have to be owner occupied only. It's not intended for you to come and make a profit off of this, because the rest of us aren't doing so. It's that simple. And another thing, if you rent in the city of Burlington, and the landlords can vouch for this, you need to, one, register with code enforcement, two, get annual inspections, and I don't know if all of you are doing that, but if you're not, you might wanna consider that.
See, ours are all
I know you folks are, absolutely. Yeah, the Rooney's, I know, and I know Langlois, Ms. Langlois is, but I can't speak on behalf of the rest of them, but I'm just saying, so. Those are just important facts I think people need to understand within the city of Burlington. That is an ordinance that they have in place, that is heavily enforced.
Okay. I want to get by bylaws because it's getting close to 8 o'clock. Is there anything else in the bylaws anybody wants to bring up? Let's utilize them. The next thing I want to talk about is the Articles of Association, the verbiage that goes to the state of Vermont. The bylaws don't go to the state of Vermont. They're an internal contract that you all make to each other. But the articles get filed. Okay, I'm gonna go over this quickly. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is we're back to the name debate, okay? So, I believe we had a gentleman that had the list of most popular names.
I just got them off Facebook.
You got them off Facebook, okay. What are they?
Ethan Allen Mobile Home Park. Burlington Mobile Home Park.
Okay.
North Avenue Mobile Home Park Cooperative.
Okay.
I like 1106 North Avenue Co-op.
I think a lot of that was just Ethan Allen Co-op and North Avenue Co-op.
Okay. Why not? Well, as long as we're not making furniture, you can probably use Ethan Allen. Or pencils.
Jeremy, were there any others on the list that?
Jeremy's list.
But there were more than 3 on the initial.
The top two,
The top two were Ethan Allen Cooperative and North Avenue Cooperative.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Do we have to keep it forever?
We do not have to keep it forever. You can for
tempering
$100 or something, you can change your name. It'll confuse everybody completely. And to tell you the truth, 5 years from now, people will still be calling it Farrington. Whether you, even after you change the sign. I actually have a co-op called Quab and Sunrise, and it's still Oakville or something. So those are the most popular. Do we want to read them off and put up names or put up names?
The word co-op has to be in the name.
Yes.
How about Ethan Allen?
Ethan Allen.
Ethan Allen, folks.
That's mobile home.
Historical figure, pencil maker.
He tried to sell us to New Hampshire. Why would you want to name the park after it?
mobile home doesn't have to.
Be the name?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, it doesn't have to. No, it could be the ABC cooperative. It doesn't matter. So you can take that off if you want. Okay, what do we got? Ethan Allen.
Ethan Allen, Burlington, and North Avenue.
Okay, I want hands. Well, first off, is there anybody out there that doesn't care at all? There you go. There's always one. Yeah. So Ethan Allen's first. Do we want to see a show of hands? Okay. Do you want to count there, Sarah? Sarah? Then we'll worry about that. There aren't a lot of cooperatives. Well, okay. What's number 2?
Burlington Mobile Home Park.
Burlington Mobile Home. Wait a second. Let's go one by one. Okay, Burlington Mobile Home Park Cooperative. Anybody? Okay.
The other one is North Ave.
Okay, North Ave. Do you want it without the mobile home park? With the,
North Avenue Cooperative.
okay, North Avenue Cooperative.
I like that.
I'm feeling that one. Okay.
I don't think you can use Ethan Allen's name.
I bet you I could. But as long as I'm not making furniture or pencils, right? Anyway, it is. Can you write that down? Oh, Sarah's got it. Okay. Now I'm going to go through this quick, okay? Folks, the second part, agent. I'm going to ask for a group of volunteers in a few minutes, and one of them I'll ask to give up their their address as the legal address of the cooperative. Okay?
What was the name chosen?
What was the name chosen?
Fourth Avenue
Fourth
Co-op.
Avenue
Thank you.
Co-op.
I should write it someplace, but that's why I. Okay. Same with now let's get into the twos here. The cooperative is organized as a corporation under Title 11, Chapter 14, Vermont statutes. It's a cooperative housing corporation. Okay. The purpose of the corporation, other than to engage in any lawful act, is to own and operate Farrington Mobile Home Park. Okay. Bunch of other things this sets out. The fiscal year, we have to say that for tax purposes, ends in December. The corporation will last forever, because you can have a corporation that can only that lasts 20 years if you want one. But let's not do that. The corporation does not engage in political activity. You all have the right to your own political activity, but the corporation doesn't engage in such. Next, limited equity housing cooperative. When we say your buy-in is $100 for membership fee, and you get it back, that's called limited equity. We're not asking you for $20,000, right? So this forever keeps it as a limited equity housing cooperative, so nobody can ever change that membership fee to be anything else. So you know, if you keep going down, like transfer value restriction, basically you get your $100 back that you paid, so on and so forth. Talk about how you transfer a membership, okay? And what happens is if you die, then your membership transfers to another adult member of your family. Let's see, if you sell it, the corporation actually takes your membership, gives you your $100 back, and gives a new membership to the next person. 3.6 deals with if you would ever dissolve, and we have 160 cooperatives nationwide, 165, we never had one dissolve, but it says what happens. It basically is all of the debts of the corporation are paid, and then you get your $100 back, and let's see, and then if there's anything made on it, then you have to actually give that away. You actually cannot make money by ever reselling the park. That's one of the conditions of being a limited equity cooperative. 3.7 deals with the sublease of lots. Now what that is what we were just talking about. Subleasing lots is when you have a home and you lease that, you lease that home to somebody else. It's not allowed except as approved by the board of directors. And the board will adopt procedures for approval of subleases, include them in the park rules and regulations. Basically the big conversation we've had. Let's see, 3.8, the cooperative cannot sell all or substantially all of its assets if the purpose of the sale is to circumvent the purposes of the cooperative. On and on. Stock. We talk about membership. Membership and stock is interchangeable. You have a membership, you have one share of stock. Each home gets one share of stock. The cooperative will only issue one type of stock. Total number of shares will correspond to the number of lots there are. The cooperative 4.2, cooperative shall issue one share to each member as evidence of their ownership of each membership interest. That share shall entitle the owner to one vote. I love this. In cases where a membership is held by more than one individual, and we've had this happen where husband and wives argue over things, individuals cast fractions of a vote. So no matter how many people you have in your home, you only get one vote, but if you ever end up in divorce court, you end up dividing your vote, I guess. Dividends, the cooperative does not issue dividends. You have a question?
So, if for landlords,
yep.
do they have one vote if they have multiple properties?
One vote. If you have one vote, is the most you can have. Okay.
So is that one share? They have multiple shares for one vote, or
they actually have, I guess that in most cases we've just had them buy one share and have one vote.
I thought it was up to 3, you were told.
Up to the 3 had to do with the state law. Didn't it have to do with the state law as how has the signature? That's correct.
Okay, so one vote.
One vote, because these folks seem very nice, but I wouldn't want to give them 12 votes just because we run a democracy. And nobody gets 12 votes in America, not without buying them. I'm from Rhode Island, we do that. Anyway, I was talking about dividends. The corporation doesn't actually offer dividends, so to speak. If the corporation accumulates too much money, then it does it by cutting rent. Okay. Subscription agreements. That we need to start the corporation, at least 25%, I think, of the community has to actually subscribe, become a member initially. Article 5, membership. Yes.
Before we go on,
Sure.
we were talking about allocation of ownership and voting interest.
Mm-hmm.
Where does one, in the event of just, say, a married couple, they
Yep.
buy one share,
Yes.
who determines who gets that vote, or where is it listed? Can they make a decision when they give you the money, husband is voting or wife is voting,
No.
or we each get a half?
No, when you actually have a vote, you can only one person gets to come up and make that vote. So it's only one vote.
They can share,
They can share it by fractional.
right.
It could be either one, but it's the address that would be noted, that
Right.
that address wasn't one.
Exactly. We've had this happen, but it says individuals may cast fractions of a vote. So if you have a husband and wife that are fighting over something and they want to vote, we could actually take half votes from each.
Can I ask for an addition before we go on?
What's that?
In the rights created, et cetera, subordinate any mortgage or debts encumbering the corporation's property, I would like us to include lawful debts.
Which number are you on?
I'm sorry, I'm 4, that's why I said.
Okay.
Subordination,
Okay.
I just like that addition,
Okay.
okay?
Can you note that? Can you find that?
What is it, 4.3? Am I on the wrong document here?
I don't know where that is. The good thing is unlawful debts are unlawful, so they tough to collect. They could break some of these knuckles.
All right.
Okay, carry on. Okay. I'm at 5.1, and this is one line that's kind of important. Membership interest, again, one share, in the cooperative constitutes an ownership interest. It includes the exclusive right of possession of a lot pursuant to a proprietary lease. So when we get closer, there's actually a lease document. What that lease document says is, as a member, you abide by the rules, you pay your rent, you can live in that lot forever, as long as you can live, as long as your successors live. Okay, so it's perpetual. The other thing about membership, it says that a membership interest is personal property and cannot be severed from the possessory interest evidenced by the proprietary lease. In other words, as long as that lease goes with that membership. So as long as you're leasing that lot, you have that membership. So you can't sell the membership, and then it basically says you can't sell the membership separate than giving up the lot. What else we got here? I know I'm running through it, and it says in 5.2, no member shall have or have an interest in any more than one share. That's the question that came up before. Let's see now. On the directors, the initial board of directors shall have 5 members. That's how this was written up. Okay. You could have more, and we can change it if we need to. The qualifications, term of office, method and manner of election, etc., are set forth in the bylaws. So this couple page piece of paper goes to the state. The bylaws are your agreement within yourself, your contract within yourself. Okay, and at the end of this, and I'm skipping, but The bylaws of the cooperative can be amended, enlarged, diminished by a vote of the members at a properly warned membership meeting at which the proposed amendment is clearly listed as an item of business. You must have a 2/3 vote. So in order to change any of these things in the amendments, we have to give you notice, tell you what the board or somebody wants to change in this, and then you have to have a 2/3 vote of the membership to change it. Okay? I ran through that quickly, but I want to give certain examples. Are there any questions on the articles?
So can we change that to the nine-member board?
How do you guys feel like you want a bigger board than 5 members?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 9 makes it interesting. You get any larger than that, they're laughing. The reason being is the smaller group, it's more cohesive, but you have a larger park, you have a lot of people here. Let's go to 9 if we have 9 volunteers. What I need is I need 9 people, I guess, since we said 9, to step forward and say, I will be on the board of directors. I will sign a piece of paper, the piece of paper going to the state. I'd also like to set that we actually have real elections within a short period of time. Okay? Within, say, another meeting like this within a month. The 9 people that will step forward might be very much the end-all board of directors, but you have a right of voting. And unless we want to have an election right there and now, it's easier just to get people to sign, have the corporate documentation completed, and then have an election in 30 days or what have you. Does that seem reasonable to people?
Yes.
Okay. A couple things about being on the board. Being on the board means, and just so you know when you jump forward, as of right now, you would have absolutely no power. Okay? You know that. A board, people who are on a board, you are nothing without the rest of the board in a properly called meeting. So I'm actually going to need a president, I'm going to need a treasurer, and I'm going to need a secretary to serve until the next election. But even if elected then, I just want people to know we don't need any cowboys in the world. Okay? So that's the first time you'll hear that, but you'll hear that plenty of times after this. Right, ladies? Yes.
Again, going back to the 5 or 9s.
Yep.
Or
Here we go with 7.
with 7, that's what I was gonna say. split
You
the
could do
difference.
7, split the
The
difference.
thing is that 9, there's more of a chance somebody will show up, but it's harder to get things done. 5, it's an uneven number, which is good, and it's easier to get the 5 people if they're committed to get together. So the question is, speaking of getting together, about what's the time commitment, number of meetings, that kind of thing for this initial process.
Okay, well, first off, again, today I want people to say I'll do it until we have an election. We can try and get another meeting date, maybe another place if we don't want to bother
And the idea is within 30 days, we'd have an election and vote
Yep.
people
And
in.
if people actually nominate themselves and say, I want to run for this position, yeah. And actually, it might be better to even do it within 2 or 3 weeks, to be honest with you. Because we're going to need, and what the actual board has to do is really be the committee that works with us with the engineers, going through all the costs of the community, and really helping us put together the plan. Okay? That means an annual budget. That means what do we need to fix. So that committee is basically kind of, instead of me trying to work on a budget with all of you here every week, the committee works with us, works on that initial budget, and then brings it back to everybody. So they're a representative body so that we're not dealing with 80 people with everything that we do. So that's it. They have no other real until there's actual ownership. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well, we've got a paper here that has already meetings set up. Is that with you, or is that ones that have already appointed themselves?
Those are resident meetings for
Yeah,
people to meet in the park.
Do you want to talk about the resident
Those
meetings?
dates that we have set up as tenants, so that we can have meetings as tenants only, rather than in a setting like this, with everybody else who's come forth to help us out. This is just so we can inform everybody who's not been part of this process from the beginning or ain't been able to go to meetings. Everybody's on the same page. We just had one last Saturday, and it went very well, so we felt it was necessary to do it monthly, so that everybody could be up to speed to what's going on.
Thank you, because I didn't know about last Saturday, so now at least I know about them.
Well, the word got out door to door. We handed out flyers originally, but we felt that's not so effective because not everybody gets them. So by giving it ahead of time, people can plan and schedule. Okay? So that's what those copies are for.
Now, we're gonna have to, yeah, just one second. We're gonna have to, you and I are gonna have to set up a meeting for election. Okay? Within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay? Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yeah.
My understanding is that 15 people have already indicated that they're interested. I believe Jeremy.
Yes, Jeremy has a list.
Okay.
But this raises the question of notification. And in the bylaws, it says that all meetings need to be noticed on bulletin boards or in 3 public areas.
Right.
We don't have 3 public areas at this point, so that's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay, well, let's change the bylaws right now. Since we're enacting them, do we want to say that every member has to be, if you don't have a place to post it, then the only other way is that either hand-delivered or mailed, people have to get notice of meetings.
No, I'm saying it's something we need to address.
Well, I'm saying address it right now. If you don't have a place to put up something, then we have to change the bylaw to say people get a delivered notice.
We have one place, one that has,
Okay. Do people go there?
that's where the drop-off boxes go.
Okay. Do you have the ability to put things up, or would the landlord not like that?
Yeah, the information, 1106 Manhattan.
Okay. Did everybody use that as, we put up the notices there for meetings?
We-
Does anybody-
That's sufficient.
We could use it, but not everyone goes to the house to submit their lot rent payment. So,
It's not the only way people get notification.
yeah.
Well, the other thing is what I'm gonna need and really probably from the initial board of volunteers, we need people to go door to door and give people these, to sign up members, and also do any notification in the meantime. So why don't we just say that all notification is done by written notice to each member, or to each household.
And usually for other groups, we send out a meeting notice by mail anyway, so, or the property management group does.
It would be better by mail because everybody would be assured of getting it and seeing it.
You say that, but not everybody does, the bylaws have them mailed out. Yeah, that's true, and that's why, like, it's generally a couple different ways of doing it, because people think everyone should get it, but I don't know how they.
Yeah, and sometimes we get address, sometimes people have PO boxes, we don't wanna deal with
Yeah.
boxes with parks, so then they don't get it, because that's all, so people have to give us anything like that.
Well, we start by mail, and then down the road, if we do get a place where we can post things, we can do that, but start by mail because,
So who's gonna pay to have
setting
those
is not
mailed out?
We'll pay to have them mailed out.
just for the interim process.
Just a point of information, if anyone's on Facebook, just let Jeremy, my husband, know. He's here in the black coat. You can wave your hand. If you're on Facebook, he can send you an invite to the group. That way we can go ahead and send you notifications when the meetings are. If you have an email address, please add it to the sign-in sheet that's been going around. And we can add you to our mailing list, so that way you can be emailed upcoming meeting dates.
Okay, do you have another question on here? I guess we're at mail, so. At this point, we have to do 2 things. One is, anybody that wants to sign a membership agreement, we have to do that. And the other thing is, I need 7 people to jump forward.
But they have to be in good standing, right?
There's no bad standing right now. But you're thinking, you know this well.
When it gets to that, when
Yeah.
you're an official co-op,
Yeah, in the future, yeah, we need, the directors have to pay their rent and their other
well,
bills.
members do too, so if you're not paying your rent, if you're like, this is one time.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
When we're voting, is it gonna be what we're doing tonight, or is it gonna be a vote amongst the owners only? I'm sitting here with my wife.
Right.
We both put our hand up, there's 2 votes. That's not the way it should be.
No, it's actually gonna be, you have to sign up today, or, but you have to be a member between now and that meeting.
So the paper ballot?
Paper ballots.
Very good.
Okay? So we'll ask people to nominate themselves, we'll send out a mailer, have people nominate themselves by, probably contacting Sarah here. By email or by phone, we'll have a ballot. If we have 15 people, it's gonna be tough for people to get up here and give a 5-minute talk piece. But, maybe people will introduce themselves anyway. But at that point, we'll have members. Well, people can sign up tonight, they can sign up during the week.
Generally, when you hand out a ballot anyway, it usually we do it per household. So assuming everyone's honest, I would just give you guys one and you decide among yourselves.
So, I don't know if we stuck on 7 or 9, but I think it's a 9.
We need 7 members right now to move forward to work with you on this process.
That is correct. Did he conclude on 7 or did he conclude on 9? 9. Wait a second. One thing here. Put your hand up for 9, if you want 9.
I don't care.
You don't care. I know where you're going to be. Anybody? 7, anybody? Okay. I'm not going to count. 7 rules. Okay? We'll go with 7 directors. Now I need 7 people. If I get more than 7, I'm going to get confused.
I'll try this again.
Actually, we'll have to talk up with So, guys. Oh, jeez. Okay, hold on. How many we got? 1, 2, 3. No, because I gotta have to do Yeah, that worked really well, didn't it?
Well, to start with,
To start with, you know who got in. We can flip a coin.
Jay's got a hat.
I don't want your hair on.
What is it you're trying to decide?
Well, we're trying to get from 9 to 7 because
This is to go to the state of Vermont, paperwork in 2 weeks, and you have to vote again. Then you guys can step forward and actually have votes. So if you can't make it up here part of the 7 now, then you have that opportunity to run in a couple of weeks. Because again, this is just this is paper.
Okay, well, that was a step down, so.
Just take everybody that's up there now and divide the work. You divide it's less
Yeah,
than
well,
each
here's
person
the thing. I just had a vote. This is not democracy work. I had a vote that said I need 7. Okay, now I'm down to 8. Okay. Anybody here born in February? Born in February. Any of you? October? You guys born at all? Because I'm doing this randomly.
Yeah.
No, we can't take the oldest. That's discrimination by age. Anybody born in March? You guys? I'm trying to figure either this or else we put that into the hat. Someone we pick somebody else.
Well, why don't, does anyone object to the 8 until we have?
You have to have an odd number.
There's a tie.
I know, but they voted in 7.
I'll back off.
You'll back off? Good. 1 and 2 weeks. Here we go.